This conference will now be recorded.
All right, I have the time now is 6:38. I'd like to call the meeting to order. If you would all rise and join with me in the allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Sean, Kate, you should have an agenda in front of you. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda, and then we can open it for discussion?
This is Kate. I'll make a motion to.
Go ahead.
This is Kate. I'll make a motion to approve the November 9th meeting agenda.
All right. Motion is on the floor. Any discussion? Sean?
Can we just add two items that came up over the weekend for me?
Certainly.
One is, I think it's 590 Foothills Road, I think it was. A water issue there. And then the other item would be the welcome to Haddam signs.
Okay. Put those under new business. Sean, make sure we discuss them, please, so I don't miss my notes.
Yep, I'll put them right in my notes.
Good, that's good. Kate, anything on your side?
Nope.
All right, I'd also like to add under the approval of minutes, approval of this special Board of Selectmen meeting we had last week, November 2nd. And you should have those minutes in your package. All right, any other discussion?
No.
All right, all in favor of approving the agenda as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, it's unanimous. Agenda is approved. All right, next item is approval of minutes, starting with the October 13th minutes. Okay, can I start with a motion to approve the minutes?
This is Sean, I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes.
All right, thank you, Sean. That opens it for discussion. Any discussion?
Third.
All right, any discussion on the October 13 minutes?
Just under new projects. It's just probably a spell check thing. It says proposed roundabout. It should be roundabout.
Yep.
And under ethic and social media policies, second line, we are also. Just a couple letters flopped.
Okay, those are noted. Kate, anything?
Nope. Sean covered what I would have suggested.
All right, all in favor of approving the October 13 minutes as amended, signify by saying aye.
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 All right, that's unanimous. Next set of minutes is the October 16th special Board of Selectmen's meeting. I have a motion to approve those minutes.
This is Kate. I'll make a motion to approve the October 16th, 2020 meeting minutes.
All right, that opens the item for discussion. Any discussion on the October 16th minutes?
This is Sean, I have none.
And this is Kate.
Kate?
I have none.
I have none either. All right, with no changes made, I have a vote on the motion to approve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carried unanimously. And now, we gotta stop having so many meetings here. I have a motion to approve the minutes for the October 30th Special Board of Selectmen meeting.
This is Sean, I'll make a motion, we approve the October 30th special Board of Selectmen meeting.
All right, that opens it for discussion. This was to, making an offer for a new hire. Any discussion on the minutes. Kate?
Yes, it looks like the made a motion to offer the assessment technician position. It looks like we're missing Sean's name because I think Sean was the one who motioned and then I seconded. So Sean made a motion to offer the assessment technician position.
Yeah,
Yep.
I believe you're correct on that, Kate.
Yeah, and that was going to be my only comment.
Okay. All right. Hearing no further comments, can I have a vote to approve the special Board of Selectmen meeting minutes for October 30th as amended?
Aye.
All in favor, say.
Oh, sorry, I jumped the gun.
Yeah, it's
Aye.
okay. All right, motion carries unanimously. And then the final set of minutes to approve is the special Board of Selectmen meeting from last Monday, November 2nd. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
This is Kate. I'll make a motion to approve the November 2nd, 2020 meeting minutes.
All right, thank you, Kate. Motion is on the floor, open for discussion. Any discussion on the minutes?
I have none. This is Sean. I have none.
This is Kate. I also have none.
Nor do I. That said, call for a vote. All in favor of approving the special Board of Selectmen meeting minutes for November 2nd, 2020, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous, motion carries. All right, next item on the agenda is public comment. We've got a few members of the public here. Do we have any public comment? Again, 3 minutes, please, if you're going to make comments. All right, appears to be no public comment. We move on after that. Next item is the Selectmen's update. Mine will be fairly brief tonight. I'll start with projects as usual. One reason it's going to be brief, I usually talk about something in the Higginham Center revitalization. Tonight, Bill Warner's here. I've asked him to give sort of an overview of where we've gone so far with all of those projects. So I won't talk about any of them at all other than to perhaps comment on his comments. A couple other projects to talk about. Tyler Water, the paving is done finally. There are still connections to be made. There are still some issues to be worked out, but the bulk of that project is done. And hopefully the disturbance to the general public and businesses is pretty much at an end. Last thing I have to talk about is road work. Lieutenant Schubel still remains to be paved. Weather delays, rain delays, I've heard it. It's actually not all that bad to be talking about rain slowing things down given the dry summer we had. But right now it's planned to start on Wednesday. And once started, it's not a long project. So other things to talk about. Scott Martinson are from the Health District. Are you here tonight, sir?
Yes, Scott and I are here both, yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, hey, thank you both. How's it going? I'll bring you up later, but I'm not. My next item on my update is the COVID-19. I'll keep it brief because the two of you are here. Glad to see you here. I will point out on COVID-19, the election is over, but the infection is not. In October, we had 13 cases reported, which is more than we had in September. The cases have been ramping up. So far this week, and I think it's Scott Martin's and the health director's fault, but we had 8 cases in 9 days. So again, it may just be a reporting anomaly. We're a small town and a couple of cases make a difference, but that's a significant uptick for us in cases. As of right now, we have a total of 76 cases and unfortunately still only 1 fatality. Last thing I want to talk about in updates is just the elections. Some of you probably have seen the announcement we put on the town website. Overall, election day went very smoothly. We had nothing more than the normal, little more than the normal bumps in the road that you get for every election day. Turnout of the town was extraordinary at 86% turnout overall. And that included 1,573 absentee ballots, which is about 4 times what we normally do in a presidential election. And credit goes, as I said, to our registrar of voters, their staff, all the poll workers, particularly the new ones who stepped up to fill the void for the people who were concerned about it for COVID, and the troopers and everyone else who contributed. So again, my hearty thanks to all of them. That's all I have for my part of the update. Kate, Sean, anything else you would like to add? Okay.
This is Kate. I do two things quickly. First, I wanted to thank Bob and Chris Corsa of Public Works. Recently, a no parking sign went up along Depot Road down near where the water hole is. And I know there's at least one very happy resident. It sounds like there had been a lot of street parking that was prohibiting the traffic to be able to move through smoothly. So I think within a day of that sign going up, I got a thank you message for that. So thank you, Bob and Chris and whoever else was responsible for getting that up. Also, just wanted to let everybody know, December 5th, there will be an outdoor farmers/craft market at Haddam Elementary School. As we all know, it's very difficult to be holding these indoors for a number of reasons, including safety and limitations on public gatherings. So our solution to that is to hold an outdoor market. You'll see a lot of the same vendors that we had on the farmers market. It will be outdoors, but it should be early enough, and who knows, maybe it'll still be 75 degrees in December. But a lot of the crafters, a lot of the people who participate in these markets, this is their livelihood for this holiday season. So whatever you can do to shop local and support these local merchants, I know it will be very significant for them. So it will be running from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. I think Santa might be making an appearance. So please, if you can get out and support your local merchants, please do so.
All right. Thank you, Kate. Sean, do you have anything?
I'm all set. Just other than that, Kate, thank you for putting all these events together.
Thank you, Sean. I cannot take any credit. I am just the middleman pushing out the message. This is again put on by Christy Benson, who was our market master, and also Bridget Marshall, who is from O Fudge. So these two women are working very hard to make sure that there's an opportunity for this to happen.
Excellent.
Okay. Moving on to the next one. Jen, I see you're here. Board of Education update.
Thank you, Bob. Hold on just a second. Let me call up my notes here. So Jen Favalora, Board of Ed. The superintendent in October provided us a summary of the first month of in-school learning for our kindergarten through 8 students, and it was successful. There were some challenges with transportation, which is common, and adjustments are being made to accommodate for fluctuations in driver shortages. In the high school, which remains in the hybrid model, the administration has been assessing how the students have been doing academically, socially, and emotionally. Teachers and guidance counselors have held small group check-ins, and students and parents have been surveyed. As a result, some students were given the opportunity to come back to school full-time or switch the days they attended in order to better suit their academic and social emotional needs at this time. The administration and staff at all of our schools are continuing to keep an eye on the students' needs throughout this very unique school year. For the Board of Ed, our policy subcommittee chair, Joanne Nesty, led the board in reviewing the 9,000 series of bylaws, which is all about the role of the Board of Education and its members. The subcommittee recommended and the board voted to accept several changes, including 1, to limit the term of the chairperson to 2 consecutive terms. The past practice for the Board of Ed is that the chairmanship transfers between the towns of Killingworth and Haddam every 2 years. However, there's no written policy that requires the board to do so. So now we have limited it to 2 consecutive terms, no matter how that falls. And also, we allow 3 members of the Board of Education to dictate to the chairman and the superintendent how to add an item to the agenda on any given meeting agenda. So a couple other minor policy changes, but that took up a good chunk. We're working on the 5,000 series, which is all about the students now. In facilities, Peter Sonsky, our facilities chairperson, reported that the replacement of the underground oil tank at Burr was completed, and the Killingworth oil tank is close to completion. The field house project at the high school is progressing, and the public building committee recommended and the board approved adding 2 expenses to the original scope of the project. The first was to hire a contractor to remove and replace the window caulk around the windows of the field house for $33,500. And the second was to install a new system for hanging the athletic banners inside of the gymnasium for $20,900. And finally, the facilities committee is going to begin taking steps for a more formal and extended capital plan for all of the buildings in our district. For the vision of the graduate, I'm not sure if anybody saw this on Facebook or in HK News, that should be coming out, but the Board of Education is developing a long-term strategic plan for the district. At the center of that strategic plan is what we call the vision of the graduate. And that is what the Haddam Killingworth community believes are the essential skills and dispositions that our students need to acquire by the time that they graduate high school. The school district invites every member of Haddam and Killingworth, whether parents, students, staff, community member, to provide input on the vision of the graduate. There is a web link on our RSD 17 website titled Vision of the Graduate Thought Exchange, and we ask the question, what are the most essential skills and dispositions every Region 17 student needs to be successful in a highly dynamic and challenging world? We would really appreciate anybody taking the time. It's about 5 minutes at the least, and then you can work with others for longer if you'd like to, but we need your opinions as much as possible. And finally, also on our website, the Board of Education approved the meeting schedule for 2021, and it is on our website, including very important budget dates. That is it. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
All right, thank you, Jen. Any questions on the Board of Ed update from anybody?
This is Kate. Jen, I actually do have a question. I don't know if you'll be able to answer this. The window caulk that's being replaced, do you know if hazardous materials testing was conducted before they started removing it?
I don't know that, Kate. I would have to ask that. I can get back to you on that. And speaking of which, you both asked some questions at the last meeting, and I do have answers for you if you want them either now or at another time. Sean and Kate, I'm happy to get them to you.
Yeah, I'd say if you have the information, that would be awesome. Thank you.
That'd be great. Thanks. Yes.
Sean, you had asked about how we're managing in this time period of COVID with the finances, and really it is absolutely just like I said, we're eagle-eyeing everything right now. It is a process, and it is something that, it's very unexpected, but our costs are going up, and we are just watching that. We are not in the red, like you mentioned, the school district you work with is. However, to Kate's question, she asked about special education, which is always a variable for our budget. And she asked how those costs, especially considering COVID-19, were compared to what we were expecting them. And they are much higher. They're about $273,000 over for various reasons, So we are looking for the money for that too. But I just wanted to report back to you, and I will get back to you, Kate, about the window caulk.
Thank you, Jen.
Okay.
Not a question, but just a general comment quickly. I just wanted to express my appreciation and gratitude for the teachers, the administration, the staff, everybody who's working through this, because we talk about heroes, you hear about heroes a lot, and the teachers and the people who are making it possible for students to have a somewhat as normal as could possibly be school year. Just very much my thanks and appreciation for everybody who is keeping our students going during this very difficult time.
Thank you, Kate. I will absolutely pass that on.
All right, Jen, thank you very much for that. Next item, I'll turn it over to the Health District for an update from them. Scott?
Thanks, Bob. Aren't you sick of me yet? Not yet, huh?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, it's been quite a long 6-7 months for sure. But Haddam's been great, and your team and your leadership there has been spectacular to work with. So thank you very much. Yeah, you can see that cases are increasing locally. That's not uncommon because cases are creeping up throughout the state and the country. Haddam's done good. They are ticking up a little more than we'd like to see. I do keep an eye on Middletown. You got to remember, you guys do border Middletown. For example, they had about 36 cases today. So certainly that has some impact too because of your geographical location. But nothing really unexpected except for everything's unexpected. You're right in line. We're not seeing huge outbreaks. We're getting sprinklings of casings. I'd imagine that would continue, certainly, and probably increase as we head into the winter. I think the big metrics we'll all have to keep an eye out for is the hospitalizations. Excuse me. They kind of dictate the next steps going forward for the state. Looking at today's data, there was about 40 plus hospitalizations. That number's creeped up very quickly. So I know the governor's keeping a close eye on that, as that will probably dictate the next steps if we had to go back to any type of lockdown or closure like we saw in the spring. Not quite sure where that's headed yet, but you do see that methodical climb back. Hence the curfews and the new phase 2.1 rules. Good news in the district, though, we're getting a ton of cases, but nobody's dying. So that's spectacular news. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people still dying in the state. So at some point, as cases increase, we'll see a follow-up with residential deaths. Hopefully not in the near future, but it's kind of how that goes. It's being treated a lot better in the hospitals, which is great news. So not as many people that are hospitalized are staying in quite as long, which is spectacular. And I think the levels probably for Haddam will stay in the orange or red for as long as they choose to use levels, which I don't agree with, but I understand the premise of what they're trying to accomplish. So, you know, we're all in this together, but certainly you guys are no better. You're no worse. You're kind of in line with what's happening statewide. We haven't seen many outbreaks, if any. I don't think, Sherry, in your businesses. I think your businesses in town are doing spectacular. We're in constant contact with the restaurants and the salons. You know, they're trying to squeak out as much as they can in the time they have. So there's not been much of a challenge as I thought. You know, you hear sporadic things happen in the state with big shutdowns and sting operations. Well, we haven't had to do that in Haddam, which is great. Let's see what else. Flu shots, I'll let Sherry touch on a bit. The schools are getting really tough. Region 4 made the decision today. We consulted with them this morning. They are going to suspend any in-person learning until at least Thanksgiving. They're going to reassess Thanksgiving break. You know, and a lot of that's not only due to cases and cohorts and quarantines, it's due to staffing levels and a lot of other operational issues that they're seeing. We will probably see that possibly in Clinton this week. Clinton cases are getting pretty high, so that school system's going to be tough to remain in person or even hybrid for that matter. So I do have a meeting tomorrow with the superintendents. I'm going to talk to Holly about our district. Certainly we want to all keep it going as much as we can, but it's getting very challenging. What else do we have? That's pretty much it. You know, the only thing I could say to you guys in the community is really just, you know, keep an eye on the elderly. We're still finding that this disease primarily inflicts them with grave results. The people that are dying are certainly have a lot of comorbidities. But if this gets into a nursing home or an assisted living facility, it spreads very, very fast. And those are the risk groups we worry about. Sherry, you want to talk a bit about contact tracing and how we are with the flu campaign?
Sure. In contact tracing, I call everybody that's positive or anybody that's been in contacts. One of the big red flags in Haddam has been a lot of sports teams. We've had cheerleaders, we've had hockey teams, we've had ice hockey. So those seem to be the ones that have caused the most stress on the school system, but we have managed them to date. The contact tracing, we just ask if, you have any message for your residents, is that when I do call, they can be as transparent and honest as possible. That just lets us help contain the disease and give them the best guidance for themselves, as well as the community. We are seeing very mild cases in our residents as far as, cold, something that looks and feels like a cold or the flu. But we are doing a great job at keeping it out of our high risk population, which could have, as Scott said, can have worse effect. In reference to flu, we've done a couple thousand flu vaccines. I have plenty of flu vaccines for anybody that wants it, without any need for payment or insurance. Starting Wednesday this week, we're going back to drive-ups. We did drive-throughs. We did come up and do an outside clinic by the office, and now I'm going to do drive-ups at the office. It's getting cold, and for people to stand outside and take their sleeve down outside can be a little daunting. So now we're going to have them drive up, pre-register, drive up, let us know we're there, and our nurses will go right to the cars to give them their vaccine. I still have high dose. So anybody 65 and older that that still needs it, I've been reaching out to our providers to let them know as well. So please, anybody have any questions, just give us a call. Any questions, let me know. Thanks.
Oh, and Sherry, just want to briefly mention the testing in case they haven't heard.
Oh, sure. We worked, Scott and I worked together with the governors, through the governor's office, Michelle Gilman, and informed the state that we had very little testing and no testing for children down on the shoreline. So through the coordination of that and our local officials, we got a Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4, COVID testing for all ages, no cost, no appointment needed at the Saybrook Point by the mini golf at the end of Main Street, every day, Monday through Friday, for all ages, no cost, no appointments, just first come, first serve. Clinton has opened up their community health center also for testing, and we're trying to also get additional testing up the Route 9. There was a Chester pop-up last Wednesday, and we're still working to get more up along the Route 9. But any questions, and then up near you, Middletown on Main Street, I think it's 475 Main Street, has also the same drive-through testing. You can call and make an appointment or just drive up as well for no cost. So there are sites available, and please, if people need assistance with that, they can reach out to us or 211 Connecticut 211, which is the United Way list of all testing centers.
All right, Sherry, that testing site you're talking about in Middletown, is that the Walgreens site?
No, that's the Community Health Center.
Okay.
Walgreens too, but I know this community health centers are all PCR testing, which is the gold standard.
Okay, yeah, you've got them on both ends of Main Street. The community health is on the north end of Main Street, and then the Walgreens is right across from the YMCA.
Yep.
Okay. Great, and I would add for those listening, I would add my recommendation. If you've never gotten a flu shot before, even if you never get it again, get it this year. It's particularly important with the pandemic.
Yep.
I get mine regularly, and contrary to what a lot of people will tell you, I've never gotten the flu from having the shot. So, okay.
Yes.
Bob,
Yeah.
can I quickly, can I ask a question? Sherry, I might have missed this. Where is the drive up flu vaccines? Where are those taking place?
The drive up is at our office in Old Saybrook at 455 Boston Post Road in the train station, right by the dermatologist. And the reason we picked 5, we were doing 4 to 7, but now all the offices are closed there at 4:45. So that leaves plenty of parking right in the front of our office so that we can just, so every Wednesday, as long as we can, we'll be doing those vaccines there.
Got it. Thank you.
And just make sure they know they can go to our website, crad.org. You pre-register on the website, which is the neat thing about it. So once you pre-register, you just show up. You don't need to bring any paperwork. Nothing gets transferred back and forth. But they do have to pre-register prior to coming.
Okay. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Jerry.
Anytime, Bob.
All right, let's move on. Next item, and it's a routine one, tax refunds. You should have a list, gotten a list in your package of what tax refunds are requested for these. We have one real estate refund for $4,008.63, 3 personal property for a total of $224.80, 10 motor vehicle for a total of $784.28, for a grand total of $5,017.71. Can I have a motion to approve the tax refunds as requested?
This is Sean. I'll make a motion that we accept the tax refunds as stated.
Okay, any discussion on the tax refunds? All right,
This is
hearing
Kate.
none.
I have none.
Okay. Call for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Right.
Aye.
All right, it's unanimous. Motion carries. All right, next item on the agenda, new business. We'll start with the Haddam Center update. Bill, I will turn the floor over to you, please.
Okay, can you hear me?
Can now, Bill, thank you.
You can hear me? Okay, my camera is not going on for some reason. So Haddam Center, as you know, we started, we had the workshops at the end of October, and we had a report done by the new year, and the report included a 90-day action plan. The 98-day action plan was designed to really jumpstart what was going on. And that the 90 days started on January 1st of 2020 and extended through to March 30th of 2020. We were making great progress with Bob as the new first selectman, and I was doing a lot of work with Bob, and we were getting a lot of this stuff done on the 90-day plan. I have a whole report that we were prepared to produce and present, and then we had a little bump in the road in terms of a global pandemic. So that slowed us down a little bit. We are continuing to work on things, but it became very, very difficult with the state closed, with pretty much everybody shut down, and even the town of Haddam shut down. So as things are starting to open up again, we're starting to pick things up again, and we are making a lot of good progress. So Bob asked me just to go over some of this, and there are some citizens that are questioning what progress we're making because it's been a year now since we did the workshops. And again, we have made a lot of progress here in Haddam. The first one on the 90-day plan was the organization element of it, and Sean can talk to this about the effectiveness of the Central Business Bureau in Middletown and how important it is to have your businesses organized so that they have a voice on what happens in the center, and they have the ability to complain as one voice about something that isn't getting done. Very effective up in Middletown and part of the Main Street organization approach. So we were working on organizing that. Kate and the EDC was responsible for putting that together and putting together, to start with, if nothing else, an email list, an email database so that we could start a communication line with the businesses and the government. So I think there's been good progress on that, and we will start picking that up again once we can have some more in-person meetings. Another one was the HES building. As you know, we own the HES building. The HES building, we were very, very close to the point of having a term sheet, pretty much agreed on all the terms, and we were down to the price per square foot with Addelbrook Private School for autistic kids in Cromwell. We were extremely close to signing that lease. They wanted to be there very badly. It was a very important business move for them to access the shoreline school towns to service the kids down there. And it was very, very close. And then COVID hit. And they obviously weren't going to open another school in the middle of a pandemic. As recent as last week, there's been communication with them. They are still interested. As I said, it really, what it does is it opens, they don't have anything south of Middletown. So what it really does is open up the shoreline. Apparently an autistic child can't transport more than roughly 30 minutes or else you lose them for the day. So this location was important to opening up the Madisons and the Saybrookes and down county from us. So they are very interested. They're still interested. Again, spiking. So the chief financial officer who I speak with, again, had emergencies last week because there was of the spiking of the COVID cases and dealing with autistic children and COVID and everything else. You can imagine a very stressful time. But again, with today's announcement with Pfizer and the vaccine coming, I'm hoping that will move that decision up fairly rapidly. So that's very positive. If it even went with the amount of money that they were willing to pay, it would have been a triple net lease. They would have taken over all the expenses of the building. There would be opportunities for public access and public use of the building, but it would have been, still roughly $150,000 to $200,000 net income to us for rental. So it would have been very, very positive, and hopefully we can get there with them in 2021. In the interim, we're using the building. There's nothing better. The last thing you want to do is have a building that's just all shut up, all shut down and closed up. You want to have it open. You want to have circulation in there. We got the boiler going, had a few issues with the boiler this year, getting it going, and fits and starts, and one zone working too much. We had the fire department there last week because the air circulation wasn't going, and the boiler room got incredibly hot because it wasn't circulating. So there's always going to be issues with the boiler that old and of that size. So we have it up and running now, and like I said, we want to keep the building circulating, keep people circulating in it. So we had a meeting with HK Rec. They are very cognizant of social distancing requirements and working with the programs that they have. So they are in the building pretty much every day of the week with different programs. They don't allow parents in. They can't have parents standing around visiting. It's just drop the kids off, go into the gym or the multi-purpose room and do their karate class or their soccer clinic or the different types of things that they do. They do the babysitting class. So they're doing all that, but with the masks required, the social distancing, the hand sanitizing, and everything that is necessary to keep it safe. So we met with them. Bob and I felt comfortable that they had a handle on what had to be done. So again, they're in there pretty much every day of the week except for Sundays. We also rented the gym once a month to Pratt and Whitney, the machinist union down the street on Saybrook Road, the old canal, and so they're in there they were in there this past Sunday. So one Sunday a week for a couple hours. Got a nice rent for it. They pay us $400 a month. So that works out well, and that money, helps offset some of the other things that we're doing in the building. And then Blue Fire Theater Group is in the new section on the first floor. They're using 2 of the rooms for their theater classes and storage of the equipment, and that's one that I've been supportive of from the very beginning. They got started like last year. It's an arts organization, which would be fantastic. We could have some type of arts organization in Haddam Center, so that's really, really positive. I threw out an idea about having like a mall walking thing when the weather gets really cold. We're definitely moving forward with that. Had a lot of support in that. People were very interested in it. Ordered the stickers like you see in the mall and stuff that have the directional arrows and one way, and what it comes out to is about a quarter mile, which is the distance of a typical track, but it's in a warm, heated room. Our building. So we have the green arrows that will take you through, and we're thinking opening maybe a couple weekdays to see what the attendance is like, if people want to enjoy that. And as I said to Bob, it's really a community building exercise. It's not like we're making money on it or anything else, but it's bringing people into the building and letting them see what we have and what's going on. So we're doing that. Playground I want to open up. I know a few people keep commenting about the playground. The playground, I've gone through the inspection several times. As you know, they've closed it based on the inspections. There are a lot of reasons why it's closed, but I think what I want to do is call back the playground inspectors and say, okay, how can we fix some of these things? These playgrounds are very, very expensive. Is there something that we can do to fix what we have? I know the swings can be easily fixed. There was protruding bolts that caused those to be closed, so we could fix that and put down some new surface material. There was no real reason. There's like a tire climb thing. No real reason why that was closed. And there's some rotting wood and stuff on the main playscape. But I know that's an important element to a lot of people, and hopefully we can find a way to get that opened again. So where we are with HES again, waiting for the pandemic, waiting for Attlebrook. Down the road, we could have a real good opportunity there with Attlebrook for the school. Also in the report, any questions on HES? In the report, they had another section on connections between Higginham Center and the natural environment. I started out on that right away. I do a lot of hiking, so this was one of a particular interest to me. What we did is I took all the previous studies and the things that identified trails. There was a trail map that was done, I think, in the 80s or early 90s, which was excellent, which showed connections to Swan Hill, to the Cove, to the center, to the reservoir, up to the state forest, up and back, up behind Phil Goff's house, which property is now going to the land trust, all the way out to the Blue Trail out at Seven Falls. So how do you connect all those? And is there trail markers? How do you create this system so that you have a unique situation where you have a little attractive town center with lots of natural resources around it. So from the Cove all the way down to the river, and how do you connect those all together for almost like an ecotourism kind of bent to it. So I mapped all that out. I worked closely with Gail Reynolds and Peter Bard and Bill Cowan at the Land Trust. Talked about what we could do, and we were making good progress, put together a document. I posted that on Facebook, got a lot of real positive comments about that. We worked on some preliminary mapping, worked on the Cove and coming up with a concept to what we could do with the Cove and what we should do with the Cove, and got a lot of real positive stuff about that. So that really became kind of the focal point, is like we should probably focus on the Cove first and how to connect the Cove to the center. So what we've done now is we've put together, we had about $5,000 left in the capital budget for trail connections in Higginham. I got another $8,000 from the state, so we now have $14,000. We had a town meeting which reauthorized that to the trails and to the Cove. I have a bid out right now for a landscape firm to come in and clean up the Cove. I posted last week some pictures of a 2016 picture of the Cove right after the EPA finished it and how magnificent it looked. And I posted a picture from the same vantage point, what it looks like now. Very overgrown, a lot of vandalism, a lot of graffiti, and just overall overgrowth and vandalism. So the goal with the landscape contract is to clean it up and to really start thinking about how do we get people down there to deter some of the vandalism. Also looked into some cameras and things, which could, it's amazing how advanced these cameras are now, in particular the game cameras where they have the LED lights, light everything up on any motion, take photographs, take video, and not a big expensive thing. So anything like that, I think, would deter some of that from looking at the graffiti. It's kids. It's not gangs. It's not anything real serious. It's kids just putting in graffiti, I think. So we're working on that, and that's positive. The landscape contracts are due soon. I delayed that basically because I wanted the foliage to fall, because it's much more effective to clear out brush and everything else when the foliage is down. So we're looking at that. There seems to be a lot of excitement in the cove and how to connect the cove to the center. So I'm working on that. Anything on the cove? Any questions? Okay, the Scoville Hole property, when I first got here, we got another $225,000 from DECD. Right when Lamont got in, we put together something and contacted them through some of the people that were close in the Lamont administration, and got $225,000 to focus on the Scoville Hole property. We had the studies that were previously done by Fuss and O'Neill, but they were real, not real detailed. We really needed a detailed plan, a detailed remedial action plan of what has to be done at Scoville Hole. As you know, I was posting a lot of everything every day. We were out there drilling, digging holes, testing groundwater, testing the wells and whatnot, and got all the results done. We have all the lab analysis done, and basically we're meeting with, we also under that contract hired an environmental attorney, a very well-respected environmental attorney who works a lot with the DEP. She's actually the chairwoman of the state brownfields task force that the state put together. So she's the chairwoman of that, and she represents us, which is very positive. So we're the plan now that we know what the issues are, and basically the biggest issue is the asphalt. So the asphalt leaches out and causes issues. So the concern is that what is leaching out of the asphalt that was buried there, which you'd expect at a state DOT garage, they have a lot of asphalt, so they buried it. Is that leaching into the groundwater, and is it moving? So we need to do a few more groundwater samples and check the wells that are there to determine what's going on with that. Otherwise, there really isn't any huge environmental issues. Kind of surprised from all the rumors that were out there, but we dug where the former pond was, 7 deep test hole pits, found nothing but basically street sweepings. So that's real positive. So what we'll do now is we will meet again with our attorney, our consultants, and decide the course of action, what the cleanup strategy is going to be. We will meet with the Department of Environmental Protection to make sure they're on board with the cleanup strategy. Once they're on board with that, which I think they will be, we will meet with the DECD, the State Department of Economic and Community Development, which is the money agency, and we will make sure that they are on board and willing to fund the project, which I believe they will be. They have a big round coming up in winter of 2021. I think they have about $17 million that they're going to be putting out. So we'll get agreement on that. And then we will meet with the DOT to negotiate a price. They've had it appraised and negotiate a price, and we'll be negotiating a price based on the fact that the DECD is going to give us the money to do the cleanup that the DEP wants to see on the DOT's property. So that's going forward. I think everybody's on board. Every agency is on board, wants to see this cleaned up, and I think it's in a good position. Any questions on Scoville Hole?
Well, this is kind of a hypothetical question. If, not to be a Debbie Downer, but if anything were to happen that would derail the project, like what could possibly happen at this point that would make this project not work out, do you think? Or is it so unlikely at this point that don't even think about it?
No, I think the stars are aligned for the whole project to come together. My goal from the beginning has been to deliver to the town basically a clean, occupiable shell of a building, so that we could start looking at getting people in there, tenants in there, kind of like the Remington Rand approach that we did in Middletown. Not a big fan. So, a couple of years ago, they did a study with Fuss and O'Neill and came up with a $17 million project with a restaurant and a new building for residential housing and makerspace and everything else, and that was $17 million. A septic system across the street on the green, and so no pie in the sky stuff. A clean, occupiable shell. The only thing that really, as I see, that could really derail the whole project is the town meeting and the voters deciding, well, we don't want to pay for that and we don't want to buy it.
Okay, thank you.
Community septic, today we got good news from the governor's office that we're getting $128,250 for the community septic. We have money in place in the capital budget. We have, I think, $158,000 in the capital budget for the community septic specifically. And then I think there's another 60 or 65,000 for the sewer study that was gonna happen when I got here. So we stopped that sewer study to study again having our own treatment plant or connecting to Middletown. So we stopped that. So that money is there too. So altogether, we probably got $300 or more $1,000 for the community septic system. What this is a concept where the septic systems would be on HES. What we're doing with the money that we're receiving is that we're designing and permitting the idea and the concept with Jacobson, our town engineer, and we're looking to construct the most difficult aspects of it. So those are the road crossings under the state highway. So under 81 and under 154, we have to do the road crossings and putting in as much conduit as possible, so that essentially you have to look at this and say, okay, well, we're going to put in a piping system that's going to allow anyone on either side of 81 or on 154 to go to put another pipe within this pipe system, basically a 2-inch force main. So let's say the Citizens Bank building, we found a new use for it, and it was going to be a nice little restaurant. It's a great location. It's got the best location in town probably. So how can we use it? Right now you can't do anything with it except an office because it's only got a 1,000-gallon tank. But we're going to put in a large pipe system, which would allow them to run a 2-inch force main in that system under 154 up through the Rossi property to the HES property and develop a septic system up there. And basically this large pipe that we're putting in will be able to handle several smaller pipes from each individual business going to the HES property. It's basically what we have to do to make this system work. It's very, very complicated with the state health department and the DEEP and who gets jurisdiction over it. Right now, the way we have it designed, it's under the state health department. If it goes over a certain limit or a certain number of businesses, then it falls in the jurisdiction of the DEEP, and it becomes an impossible project because we do not have enough land for the nitrogen travel times that the DEP has in their regulations. So it's complicated, but essentially we're putting in the infrastructure that is going to be there available if someone's septic system fails and they need to tie into the community septic system. If someone wants to change the use of the building for like Citizens Bank to be more intensive, or across the street where the fork in the road was, if they want to tie into it, they don't even have a septic system, they have a storage tank. If they want to tie into it and put in a more water intensive use, it'll be there for them. Or if new development comes, it'll be there for them. So this is essentially solving the issue that we've been dealing with for 30 years in this town about that we need a sewer system to allow new development. And obviously, that is the fact because we haven't really had any new development because the sewers and the soils can't support it. So that's where we're going with that. So we have the money. Again, we got a grant from the state of Connecticut today. Any questions on community septic? All right, the Rossi property, as you know, we now have it under contract for $2.5 million. We have begun the environmental investigation. We were out there last Friday with Andy Becker, went through all the buildings, looked at the history of the property, looked at the operations on the property, and tested the wells that are on the property. Continuing to move forward with that so that we would understand the structural integrity of the buildings and the environmental issues that we may face. Obviously, a property that has been an environment, it has nothing to do with the Rossis, really, from what we can tell. The Rossi operation was not a polluter. There was a wire company on which you'd think was pretty much the same property directly across from the town garage, I think it was JC Wire. So they were there, and they had an environmental issue, which was cleaned up. So we have to look into that to see if it was cleaned up fully or if there are issues still for that. But whenever you have a property that's been an industrial property all the way back to the 1850s, that whole property was covered with buildings at one point. There are going to be complications and no doubt about that. So we're working through that, and that will be continue to work with the Rossis once we get some of the results and decide where we go with it. It's a key piece of property for Haddam Center, no doubt about it. We have a developer that's interested in developing the front 2 acres for basically retail distribution processing facility. Also interested in another area of it for a certain type of office, medical type office use, which is very positive. We would maintain the old historic brick building, the old office building, which the developer understands that has to be maintained. The developer understands that we want very good architecture along the street. He actually agreed to interview some of the architects from the Connecticut Main Street that we recommended to him. So he's interviewing them, and we'll select one that really knows what they're doing for downtown development. Met with pretty much all of the tenants in the back and everything. I think that's the key thing, is keeping those tenants there, because the front has development opportunity and the back has a rental income that makes this project, even at $2.5 million, it makes economic sense for the town to control it and to control the destiny of the center. So we're moving forward with that. I have a good feeling about it. The Rossis, I think, are very motivated, and I think we can get something done there. Any questions on the Rossis?
This is Kate. No question, but just a reminder to any public people that this, there's ultimately the purchase of the Rossi property would go to a town meeting. So this is not the Board of Selectmen or any one board or committee in town making this decision. Ultimately, it does go to a town meeting. So just don't want anyone to think that we're moving fast and furious and all of a sudden we're going to buy this.
I should also point out that this is Bob has made the decision that we are not pursuing a new town garage. So we are not looking at this for a new town garage site. Essentially, we're looking at this to control the destiny of the center. And we are working with the existing tenants to stay there, and we 2/3 of our storage is already in the building, in the big metal building. So we will save that rent payment of $36,000 there. But this is not does not involve a big expenditure for a new town garage on the Rossi property.
This is Sean. I may have missed it, Bill. Any idea when some of these the structural studies and the well studies are going to come back?
I would say by the end of the year for sure. It's a 90-day term, so a 90-day due diligence period, but it'll be before that for sure.
All right, thank you.
One of the ones on the 90-day list was the Citizens Bank building. I contacted them. I contacted Citizens down in Rhode Island, spoke to them. They have a lease till the end of 2021. They would gladly rent it to somebody if we found somebody that wanted to go in there. The problem with it is it can only be essentially an office building or a bank because there is no, because the septic cannot support anything else. So ideally, it's such an ideal location. It will go hand, the rent of it and the timing of it may work very well, that we may have a community septic system available to that building when Citizens lease ends and it's available for something else. It's for a lease, but it's really not going to work very well because the Citizens is trying to lease it as a sublease, but they only have a year left, so they're probably not going to get a tenant for it. So the timing of it could work very well where the lease for Citizens is ending, our community septic is under construction, and we can start talking to people about it. As I said, it's just the best location for a restaurant, for a brew pub, for all different types of uses that would be in that location would thrive. So the timing of that could be very well. What we're dealing with is the property owner is a real estate investment trust in Houston. They are a $46 billion real estate investment trust. Not laser focused on Higginham, Connecticut, but hopefully we can get them interested in us to have some more discussions. Any questions on that? So those were the main ones in the 90-day plan. And as you can see, we're really focusing on those and we're moving them along. HES, Scoville, Rossi, what to do with the future use of Rossi, because that's really the things that need to happen. Ideally, we would get the community septic in. We could have some infill development along 81. There are opportunities for that if the market were stronger or if the market gets stronger. What I've always said is if we can show that a project works, so if we can show that the Scoville building is working and renting out, or the Rossi property, we have a developer that's building a building, development brings more development, and that would get the ball rolling on it. So we're moving forward in that regard. The Hutch, or what was the old name of the Hutch? The Irish name.
Which one do you want? There's a lot of names.
Oh, the Irish.
The Clodagh House.
Duffy's.
Oh, well, yeah, okay.
That one, pretty much the work is all done. They're working with the health department to get their final inspections done. They don't have a lot of seating capacity in there, so I think they're looking at the numbers and say we're back down to 50%. Does it make sense for us to open up at 50%? They don't seem in any rush to open just because of probably the situation that exists now. But the work is all done. It really looks very nice in there. They did a nice job. Steady Habit Brewing is another story. They again have had a falling out between the owner and Steady Habit Brewing. Steady Habit, I believe, is seriously talking about pulling out and not developing there, which is a horrible thing. Would have been a good location. What I've done is there's a Farmington developer that's very interested in Scoville, does a lot of adaptive reuse of historic buildings. I had him down last week and I showed him the Scoville property and I showed him the jail. And he saw the potential in both of them. And I was able to say to him, hey, and I also have what could be a really good anchor tenant in Steady Habit Brewing. So the developers, a lot of resources, a lot of access to funding. He was very interested in the jail, actually. And Steady Habits is very interested in talking to them. They should have talked last week. There was a plan for them to get together last week to see if something could be put together. So that's, I certainly don't want to lose Steady Habit Brewing. They don't want to leave Haddam. They feel that every town can support a brewery, a brew pub, and they are Haddam's, so they don't want to leave Haddam. So we're working on that one. But unless you could think of other things in Higginham.
Yeah, I spoke with Jim just about a week and a half ago, and he mentioned how you set him up with the developer, and he did seem very excited about that. So he really does want to stay, and I know he wants to avoid any type of litigation with the owner of the properties in right now. So thank you for that connection. So hopefully that'll work out.
Yeah, that developer did the Upson Mill in Farmington, and that's really what they specialize in. And they have offices in Charlotte and all over the East Coast. And the Upson Mill was very similar to Scoville actually, in how it worked out, and obviously a much stronger market right on the Farmington River. But it worked out very well and it was similar. So these developers, if they see that they have a tenant to even get started on it, they're very interested in it. So that hopefully you're right, Sean. Hopefully that works out. Bob, did I miss anything?
No, Bill, I think that was an excellent report. You hit all the highlights and good explanation of it. Thank you
I
very
don't want
much.
to. I don't want to quickly. I don't want to ignore Tylerville either. So I'm going to just touch on Tylerville. I got updates today from some of the things that are going on there. The daycare that's all approved in Tylerville, basically across from Mike's Auto. He's a very experienced daycare operator. He's got 4 of them. He has one in Middletown, a couple down county. So he's working on it. He has the architect hired to design the daycare. Actually, he has a design for the daycare. What he's doing, again, it's a COVID issue. He is filling up his existing daycares and getting kids back into them. So People's Bank is fully committed to funding the project, but they want to see his other places back up to speed before they fund a new one. But he is very much interested in doing it. He feels there's a real hole in the market there for a daycare for both sides of the river, actually. So that is definitely a project that is going forward. It looks like it'll be a couple $1 million project, which is a big project for Haddam. So that's real positive. The sidewalks on Bridge Road were ironically, we're waiting for the Department of Environmental Protection to essentially give us their comments. We submitted it in January, and we still have not received comments from the DEP about crossing the rail line, an easement to cross the rail line, or easements to be on the Eagle Landing property for the sidewalks. We can't move without them, so we've been pushing them really hard. We may have to bring in some of our political leaders to start pushing them also. There is a meeting. They're trying to set up a meeting next week to just wrap this all up and get it done. So those would be for the easements from the state. We did the appraisals and finishing up the appraisals. Once the appraisals for the sidewalks are done, then I will be authorized to go and negotiate with each of the property owners to acquire the easements necessary for those sidewalks, and then we'll be in final design. And actually, our final design is already in the DOT's hands. Once they sign off on it and we have the easements and the DEP signs off on it, we will be ready to go to bid for the spring. So we'll see that going forward, which is real positive. As Bob talked about at the last meeting, the roundabout is modifying it, saving us money actually. If they go forward with the roundabout, they don't want us to build it because they may do the roundabout. So we will have extra money because we're shortening. They'll do a lot of the work that we were going to do. It is coordinated between the two. So that's positive. We could do more of the decorative lighting, more of the landscaping and whatnot to really try and create some kind of element of design on Bridge Road there. The multifamily unit at the old 105 bridge, the old tourist information center that Bob Landino of Yard Goats fame acquired from us quite a while ago, is Bob had a design for 46 units or 48 units in 6 buildings. Really, really nice design. Essentially looked like 6 old mansion buildings, which had 8 units in each one of them. He was fully going forward with developing it, had it engineered, has it all done. He's still in an appeal with the city of Hartford for the Yard Goats Stadium. So his lawyers did not feel it was good for him to be a developer at that point. So he's put it up for sale, and I had a call last week from a Stonington developer that was very interested in it. And really, when we started to talk about it, you think about it and you say, oh, well, Bridge Road, who wants to live there? Does it have the aspects of a neighborhood? And then, but really, when you start thinking about it and you think about everything that it has there, it has the grocery store, it has the Dunkin' Donuts, it has all of the elements of a neighborhood. And now if we tie it all together with the sidewalks all the way down to the bridge, could really be very positive. The pedestrian crossing on the bridge across to the $9 million for the crossing over the bridge for pedestrians. Again, the third application for federal build funds was not funded, so we did not get the money for that again. That was purely political. You could look at how the funding went, and it really was two projects in the middle of Maine got about $30 million. Essentially because Susan Collins, the senator up there, was in such a battle, all of a sudden two projects in the middle of Maine got $30 million. So it was a very political decision making. I think we got a small amount in Connecticut for $250,000 for a study down in Fairfield County or something. So we didn't have much of a chance on that one. So that one, again, the state is going forward with the rehab of the bridge. Would really be unfortunate if they did that rehab and we did not create some kind of pedestrian crossing of that bridge. The one in Glastonbury, they have a sidewalk on it. Middletown has a sidewalk. All of them have sidewalks. This bridge, you got to be in a car to cross this bridge. So it's kind of a social justice issue too. So hopefully, we need to talk about it with Bob and elected people to see if there's a way to make this happen. I am fully confident that the DOT, if they were motivated to and they were told to, I believe they could incorporate that into their design. Right now it's at $9 million with economies of scale. That I think they need to be pushed hard, and hopefully we can find the right people that can push them to do that, because that's just critical. We can't have them rehab that bridge because you will never get permission to build that pedestrian walkway if they've already done their rehab. Haddam Center, we're doing the sidewalks, replacing the sidewalks. That's a $600,000 grant. We're replacing the sidewalks from the cemetery all the way down to the jail. It is a National Register Historic District. We don't really utilize it. We don't really highlight it. So what we're going to do with this project is we're going to highlight it, had walks with the Historical Society about the real significant buildings that are there and the real significant history in Haddam Center. What we're going to have is kind of like the bronze medallions implanted in the sidewalk that identify the houses and the points of interest, and some signs at each end that say welcome to the Haddam Center Historic District, and some interpretive signs so that it really starts to say, okay, you're entering something special, that this is a National Register Historic District. And then the signs and the medallions would be tied to a website that people could go to and learn more about the buildings and the history of Haddam Center. So that's a pretty cool project that we're going forward with. Again, the jail, had a meeting with a developer in the jail. Very interested. He sees the potential of it. I continue to have conversations with Wood and Tap. The owner of Wood and Tap, Mike Hamlin, he just moved to Haddam Neck, so he's Bob's neighbor. He wanted to get out of Southington and he wanted to get out into the hinterlands, which certainly is Haddam Neck. So he bought a big farmhouse on 65 acres on Haddam Neck. So he's even more motivated to try and make something work at the jail. He has a real unique idea. And again, we're going to continue to talk to him, and we may have a couple people that are interested in it, which would be great. Finally, 7 Island Dock Road, which was the old Marin Environmental, right across from Haddam Meadows State Park. Emailed them today. Their architect is telling them they'll have the building permit materials and the plans in hopefully for the second week in December, and they'll go forward with that project. That project, they're looking at a $6 million renovation of that building to turn it from offices to residential, to a 36-bed female wellness center. So that's a major investment of $6 million into a building that already has probably a significant value to it. So that would be a really significant increase in the grand list for Haddam. That's all I have. Any questions?
I don't think I could end that, Bill, by saying that's all. It's an awful
Yeah,
lot
right?
going on, which a lot of people don't realize. So I appreciate your update for everybody here and everyone who will listen to it on the recordings. So thank you, Bill.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, next item we have is one of the ones that are added, the drainage 590 foothills. Sean, you want to start that one?
It was 592. I got contacted by well, I guess I guess the owner of 592 had sent a letter to a couple of local papers saying that we have not done our job for the past 3 years, and how there's this drainage water coming down because it's missing about 30 feet of curbing there. And I don't know if Chris Corso, if you'd ask him about that and whether or not that's our responsibility or not. I mean, I don't know. From what I understand, is I guess water's coming down the road, and since their curb is missing, it's eroding some of their private property. And she, the owner, is claiming in her letters to the two papers that she's been on this for 3 years and has not, we have not, as a town, have not addressed her concerns. I don't know if that to be factual or not. Just give you heads up, maybe you can take a look into that, see what has happened on that.
All right, well, I can bring you up to speed on that. I know that the property in question, I've talked to the owner a couple of times preliminarily. Told her I wanted to wait and get out there when it was rainy to see what the water flow was like, which meant didn't happen during the summer, but finally a couple of weeks ago I got out there and did look. What she's referring to is, it was as you said, a good section of curb removed. It was removed by a contractor who, as I understand it, was doing work for the property owner. That actually is town property she's looking at. But anyway, I was out there. The contractor, if you ever drive by it, you can see they tried to make repairs basically with about 2 inches of cement sitting on top of it. The repair is nowhere near the 6 or 8 inch curb height that was taken down. Yeah, there does need to be some work there, but I don't believe it's urgent enough, and I will get back to the owner on this to have the public works crew make a special project to do it. When we're in the area, when we're doing curbing, that section will be repaired. I'm sure it's well beyond time where it's even worthwhile thinking about approaching our contractor. I don't think that'd be worthwhile. It'll get fixed, but it's not a high priority fix.
No, I think you're right there, Bob. You can go to the contractor, but that's more of a headache and more of a cost to try to get them to do than it would be just to do it ourselves when we have a project out that way.
Yeah, but I do have to get back to the owner on that. So from that aspect, it's my fault, but it's not, like I said, it's not something that needs to be repaired. I honestly didn't see much evidence of any significant erosion. And like I said, where it runs off is actually town property.
Yeah, it was brought to my attention because one of the newspapers was not going to run the article because they just thought it was just too aggressive, and then it turns out it got run into another, and the other publication ran it. So just we figured we should talk about it.
Yep.
And the other thing was, and Joanne, you had said you were working on this in an email I got back to you. Welcome to Haddam Science. Bob Waller just reached out to me on election day and asked me if I had any updates, and I really didn't have anything to tell him.
Yeah, I think we have now 2 estimates for replacing the signs. I know Bob was trying to get a third, but it was from the owner of what was going to be the sign shop opening in Higginham Center in the building that had fork in the road. They're not going to open down there. They're not interested anymore in bidding on the project. So we've got 2 bids to look at, and we'll take a look at them, and assuming we can find money in the budget, move forward with those replacements.
Okay. All right, thank you. I'll get back to Bob on that.
Right.
This is Kate. I had a question. Never mind. I'm getting that sign confused with the sign on Route 81 that was damaged, because we don't know who caused the damage at the Exit 7 sign, right?
That's
Correct. We're
correct.
talking about both signs. I guess there's two signs that are damaged. One we know, and we should probably go through their insurance for. No, we don't know who damaged that one.
Okay, all right, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, the one on Route
So that's
81
probably gonna be
was an intoxicated driver. Even though the cost for replacement of the sign is less than our deductible on the insurance, our insurance carrier, which is Kerma, which is a municipal insuring agency, has told us they will pursue action against the driver to recoup money for us to build the sign. But we'll let that proceed separately. Like I said, if we have the funds and can dedicate them to the signs, we'll do the replacements and then worry about whatever we happen to recoup when that happens.
Got it.
Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome, Sean. All right, that covers our agenda. Unless one of the selectmen has any closing comments, I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
This is Sean. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everyone, for being with us tonight. And again, thanks, Bill, for an excellent presentation.
Thank you very much. Have a
All
good
right.
night, everyone.
Have a good one.